Hi, welcome to the Red Booth Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Q. On tonight's episode, I have the singer and musician, Joey Briggs of the Briggs. And he joins us to talk about his new music and also producing for other bands and going on tour and all sorts of cool things. So come and join us. So, hi Joey, how's it going?
It's going all right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I like your little vibe going on here.
Well, thank you. I was bitten earlier today, so I still had to do the show though. I was like, I'm gonna do it before I change into a vampire.
That makes sense. Well, so I probably have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I'm still
Just
safe.
let me know if I start, getting too scary.
It's a good thing I smell like garlic all the time. The camera's missing the awesome skull.
Yeah, thank you. This is from Planet Chaotica, and it's sort of like end of the world clothing.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyways.
They wouldn't really be able to sell many clothing if it was the end of the world, though, right?
Probably not. Well, unless they come back to life, the zombie thing. I mean, I don't know.
That's true. That's true.
Anyways, thanks so much for coming today because obviously this month in October we're doing this cool Halloween thing, and you have a really cool sort of vibe going with your band, the Briggs, and you have your new video that came out, Panic.
Yeah. Well, that one came out a little bit ago, but yeah, we do have an EP that song is on.
Okay.
That's new.
What's the name of your new EP?
It's actually self-titled, so it doesn't have a title. So it's
Okay.
just the Briggs self-titled.
The Briggs. Awesome. How many songs are on that one?
5.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you are obviously the singer, and do you write all of the songs yourself?
Well, I write a lot of them. My brother and I have been, we're in the band together. We've been partners from the beginning. So we definitely, it's definitely a group effort for sure. Between the two of us, we write a lot of songs together.
Right, your brother Jason. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. And so in the past we've usually done it more separate. He would write a song or I'd write a song, and we sort of bring it in and kind of put it together. But lately, we've been more collaborating on the actual writing process and things like that, which is pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
You guys have been doing music forever, like
since teenagehood.
Since teenagehood. Now I remember you had a band that was something about like a magic bus or something that was like totally different style back then.
Yeah.
You have evolved a lot over that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when we first started playing in bands, again, we were really young. So like our styles and things have changed so much over the years, but also, that also has to do with the fact that I have a very hard time really doing just one kind of style of music and things like that, because I love so much different kinds of music, and I find myself whenever listening to certain things, I get so inspired by it, and then I want to do a song like that, even though it's something that just doesn't fit at all. It's just like I have a desire to throw things out like that, So, but yeah, the Briggs, it was sort of later, as far as looking at the long timeline of us doing bands, we probably had like 6 or so bands before the Briggs started, but that just happened to be the one that took off and we did the whole thing with.
Right. So the first band that you guys made together it was with your brother, right? What was that one called?
We did a band together, when we were like really young, called Jettison.
Jettison.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so that was what, like 96?
Oh man, I don't remember. Probably even further. Probably
94?
even maybe 94-ish.
94.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so in your family, you're being so musical. Are your parents musical?
No, actually, surprisingly not. My parents never really they don't play instruments necessarily, but they were huge music fans. Both of my parents had really extensive record collections and always had music playing in the house and stuff like that. So like, we grew up listening to all their records. Led Zeppelin and the Beatles and the Who and all that kind of stuff. So we got into music pretty early on because we were just always listening to music in the house, and they were very encouraging, about being musicians and about playing music. So they bought us guitars and drum sets and things like that when we were pretty young.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good parent right there, because like you buy your kids a drum set, It's gonna be
That's a serious commitment. Yeah, that's one thing that most parents won't want to do is get a drum kit in the house. That's for sure.
That's so cool. They obviously have really good taste in
Yes,
music.
they do.
And so now you have the Briggs band, and your brother also does music as well, in the band and separately, right?
Yeah, like basically, I do music in many different capacities. I mean, I have obviously the band, which we're not as active as we used to be because life circumstances have changed so much. I'm a parent now. Jason's a parent, so we're not 9 months out of the year on tour anymore. You
Right.
know, and in this day and age, sustaining a band, it really has to be. You got to be on the road all the time. I mean,
Really?
that's the reality of it. To keep things afloat and to keep things going. So there's the Briggs aspect that we have to some degree still going.
Yeah, didn't you just play at the House of Blues the last night or something?
The second to last show at the House of Blues Hollywood, which is pretty sad.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
But yeah, that was really cool to be able to have that one last experience there, and it was in a lot of ways it was really funny because most of the staff really just didn't care at that point. You know what I mean? They're just like whatever.
They're like, this is
people
the
are
last
taking
day.
stuff off the
When are we
walls. They're
leaving?
like, it's like
Aww.
no one really cares. They're out of job in like 2 days. Like oh, whatever.
They were probably bummed.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool that you guys got to play there that last time.
Yeah.
Yeah. In case everybody doesn't know, it's the House of Blues actually shut on Sunset, so now it's no longer there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be apartment buildings now.
Lame.
Yeah.
So, okay, so actually this is an interesting topic you brought up about touring.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a musician, going on tour is a huge, huge deal. I mean, your life is kind of in upheaval at the same time. Like, you can't really do anything else other than be on tour, which is also an exciting thing to do, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So, with like the new way that people do things online and all of the sharing online and all the promotion online and everything, social media, do you think that you can still continue to do the band a lot without having to tour so much?
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, not really, because I mean, there are a lot of great things that you can, so many tools that you can use these days that do help sustain things outside of being on the road, because there are we all know about every one of those, YouTube and whatever, but the thing is that there really isn't any replacement for seeing music live. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
It really is where the real connection comes between fans and bands and things like that. I mean, there are other ways of doing that, but I just it's pretty apparent even from the top to the bottom as far as artists go, from Justin Bieber to small bands. They all got a tour. They all have to make that personal connection with the fans.
Yeah, so then that's when you sort of grow your fan base by being in those places on introducing yourselves to everybody, sort of thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's just that opportunity for someone to see it in maybe less of a produced fashion, whereas something is done in a recording studio, it has had a lot of time put into things and a lot of being able to polish things off. So whereas seeing something live, you kind of get to see whether or not that artist is worth their weight in gold in a way. You know, it's to really see if they can pull it off, if you will.
Right.
Or, I mean, at least that's maybe one aspect of it. I don't think that's the entire aspect of it, but I think that does have something to do with it to some degree.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if a band can do well and play live and sound really good live, that's very impressive.
And I would say that most artists that I like, and most artists that probably a lot of people like, they would say that they're much better live than even on the records, because there is just there is an intensity that is very hard to portray through recorded music. There's just a certain thing. There's a certain human element that's there in a live show.
Well, I can imagine. I mean, you're standing in front of this giant crowd of people, and
and there's energy. There's a much bigger energy for sure.
Speaking of tours like that, what was probably one of the big tours that you've done with the Briggs?
I mean, we've done so many tours over the years from Warped Tour. We did that 4 years. We've done toured with a lot of great bands like Dropkick Murphys and Bad Religion and
Amazing.
Flogging Molly, you know, and
Love
all
it.
and I mean, so many of these tours had great aspects to it that, you know, it's hard to necessarily say which one would be my favorite per se. Just all different times of my life and all different kinds of different experiences over those tours.
Amazing. And that was mostly as the Briggs that you were on tour with them?
Yeah, I mean, I've done some of because I do a solo project just as Joey Briggs, and I've done some touring on that, but not extremely extensively. But usually, but I have actually done Warped Tour as well, doing that on the solo thing. Because
cool.
for a few years they had acoustic basement stage, which was all just acoustic acts.
Nice.
And so I have done some of that, but yeah, almost nearly, I'd say 95% of the touring I've done has been with the Briggs.
Cool. What was one of your favorite like venues that you guys played?
Well, I mean, being able to play at Staples Center during the Kings playoffs, because you know the Kings use our song as their theme song. This is LA, so during the playoffs for I think 3 years in a row we played at Staples Center during the playoffs,
Wow.
and it was really quite intense.
That is a huge crowd.
Yeah.
By the way, go Kings. Love the Kings. Anyway, you obviously know all of these amazing venues all over town, and probably, I'm guessing you went to Europe and other places like that too.
Yeah, I mean, Europe is a great place for us, and I absolutely love Europe. I love going to Europe. I love playing in Europe. Yeah, there's some great venues over there as well. You know, in Vienna, there's a awesome venue called the Arena, which is a really great place. We've played quite a few times.
Do you feel like the audience there is like has a different kind of vibe to your music than here in America?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, basically in general, not to be of any offense to anyone here, but Europeans really get into music, you know, and there is a certain energy that is hard to beat, you know, as far as I'd say, particularly with the Germans. I feel like Germans are really excited about music, but I mean, you know, and it's interesting because, you know, in so many ways, I feel like the concept of music is generally thought of as that it sort of starts here in the U.S. as far as and kind of the rest of the world sort of follows suit, which I say that that's true in a lot of ways, but you know, I've noticed that more and more like the fashion of the way they do festivals and things like that in Europe, I feel like were kind of ahead of the curve on us on that.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and we're sort of kind of getting more into doing these really massive music festivals that
they were already doing
before,
yeah,
exactly. You know, like the first few times I went to festivals in Europe or played festivals in Europe, I was so stunned at the how many people were at these shows, you know what I mean? And it was just like, you know, 80, you know, doing leads in Reading and things like that, it was like, you know, 80,000 people, and
wow.
that's something that happens every year, whereas like I couldn't name necessarily a festival other than I guess maybe Coachella, and I don't even know if
There's
it's
like the
necessarily
Life is Beautiful is getting kind of big.
Yeah, so
on
there's
Vegas.
a lot.
There's
I
a few.
feel like there's quite a few festivals that are kind of it's getting bigger. Like the idea of these big festivals are definitely becoming more commonplace here than they were, I'd say, 10 years ago.
But influence from Europe.
I think so. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That's what we want to know. We want to know your opinion. So let's talk about your songs. Let's talk about your music.
Okay.
So you have the song Panic,
Yeah.
which we have the music video for, but why don't you tell us a bit about the inspiration behind the song?
Yeah, well, I mean, when around the time, you know, we had been we hadn't had recorded a new record in quite a few years, and we really wanted to create something new for people, so we had the idea of releasing a single for Panic, and I mean, basically, you know, it's lyrically it sort of speaks for itself, but it's definitely a very just kind of heartfelt song about, you know, just regardless of all the you know, problems and struggles and things in life, that it's still, at least I'm still alive, and at least I'm still here, and at least even regardless of all these things, you know, at least it shows that I'm human, you know, things like that. So yeah, so when we had put that out, and then we kind of actually we included that on the EP that we had released just a few months ago, because it was just a single and it was just digital. So this kind of gave an opportunity for people to have like a physical copy of it and have it on the record.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you guys release, by the way, like CDs, or do you do like the actual vinyl stuff like that?
We did vinyl for this one, and you know
That's so cool. I love vinyl.
I know, yeah. I mean, it's great. It's great to have it. I mean, I think I always love having, you know, I think just in general, there's something, you know, just it's bigger, and there's like, you know, the artwork looks cool and big, and I don't know, and we did it on color vinyl too, which is always fun to just have different colors of vinyl, and I don't know, just like there is definitely something something so substantial about it that it makes it really fun. But yeah, so we did it on both. We did it on CD and vinyl, because not everyone does vinyl.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So people can go, obviously, probably buy it off of your website, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the Briggs.com shows you the way to do that. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. And I'll have to get a vinyl record player. So, and then also you have your self-titled album, your solo album that you have coming out, right?
Yeah, so I have a record just as Joey Briggs, and yeah, the video for that was "The Sun Will Shine," which was one of the tracks off of that record.
Yeah, and that one is really cool because you are basically like doing a little acting in that one.
All the characters, yeah. Yeah, no, it was a fun experience, to be honest. When the director had brought up the concept of the video, and I was just kind of like, okay, you know, sure, I guess, you know, I don't know, just I wasn't necessarily a believer at first, but it was really fun to create and kind of like, you know, create all these characters, and sort of I really like, you know, like tried to think of like this whole background to each one of these characters,
Yeah.
kind of just getting silly with it. But I mean, it was fun. It was definitely a lot of fun. It was a bit challenging to go through it, and, you know, and having to time everything and sort of the way with the cut screen and all kind of stuff. It was fun.
It looks like it's a lot of fun, and you get to do your acting chops as well on top of everything else. And you're playing like a giant stand-up upright bass, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily playing it. It was more for show. I don't actually know how to play a double bass very well at all.
Well, I'm sure you can play better than me. Well, cool. So why don't we show everybody the video then?
Okay.
And let them check it out.
Sure.
All right, here it is. What's the name of the song again?
The Sun Will Shine.
Okay, so here's The Sun Will Shine with Joey Briggs.
What you wearing right now? Pants, suits are cool. I like it. You know, they're just like a little no-name band. Never heard of them before. I just got hired to do it. What you gotta do sometimes to get the bills paid, you know?
With a song, we will survive. Don't let your life pass you by. When you feel alone, look to the sky, for the sun will shine. When it feels you've lost the fight, when darkness falls, embrace the night. When the morning comes, look to the sky, the sun will shine, for the sun will always.
All right, awesome. So that's a great video. It came out wonderfully. And who is the director of that?
His name's Kevin Barry, and he actually has worked on a few different videos and projects with us. He's an amazing director as well. He's done actually feature films and things like that.
Nice. Aren't you about to do a show this month with some bands here locally.
Yeah, we're doing It's Not Dead Fest, which is this amazing punk festival put on by Kevin Lyman, who is the creator of Warped Tour. And so this is kind of almost like a little bit of a throwback to old school Warped Tour. It's just like every one of the bands you can imagine that played it, from Descendants, Pennywise, Bad Religion, NoFX. I mean, the list goes on.
Amazing.
It's going to be an insane day, yeah.
Wow, when is that?
October 10th.
October 10th.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So do you do other stuff with some of these bands? Like, do you like collaborate with them at all, or?
Yeah, I mean, I do producing and songwriting as well. So
For other people.
For other bands and things like that. So yeah, I'm actually producing a record for a band called Casket from San Diego. It's an amazing punk band, and yeah. So I mean, I kind of have my hand in a lot of different things, from producing to songwriting and doing my own music as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The multi-talented Joey.
I guess so.
That's cool. How do people like? It's probably just from word of mouth, I guess. They're like asking.
Yeah,
you.
I mean, I've been around in this whole world for a long time, you know, and,
Yeah.
and that is something that I have a strong desire to do. You know, it's like it's sort of that natural progression of being an artist to some degree. I feel, you know, once you're sort of over the hill, if you will, you kind of pass it off to the young kids
so
and let
not
them
over
do
the
those
hill.
things. You know, so because they you know, they're the ones that are going to go on tour 9 months out of the year and things like that.
Right.
So, you know, I help them make
You're
the
like-
best records they possibly could make, and then they can go out and do all the work.
Nice. You're like, I'm gonna chill at home with my kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And you guys can go crazy on tour. Yeah.
Exactly.
You were probably doing this like how long have you been like doing like touring and stuff? Before.
19. I would think I was like 19 or 20 when I started actually going on the road.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's also a testament to you being such a good musician that you got gigs at that age, even.
Yeah, I mean, it was just absolute pure persistence. I mean, we just, you know, we never really let anything stand in the way as far as like, well, we have to wait till we get signed, or we have to wait till this, we have to wait till that. You know, we just did stuff. You know, we're just like, you know what, we want to go on tour, we're gonna book our own tour. So we just booked our own tour. You know, and just like, so we just started right out the gate, just like fully committed to just making it happen. So we just, you know, we just did our own things. We would make our own music videos and whatever, and I mean, the first few things we did, we just put out on our own, you know, just recorded ourselves, put it out. You know, I mean, it really just takes that sort of, you know, unrelenting dedication to make something happen, but what better thing to be doing when you're that age anyways? I mean, at least from a standpoint of being, you know, older at this point, I had all the time in the world. You know what I mean? Because now it's like it's so much harder with having kids and juggling everything else. Man, when you're young, you've got so much time. So I mean, why not just like find something that you love doing and just go crazy with it? You know what I mean?
Totally.
And so that was sort of, you know, and I was fortunate enough to know when I was young what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? So many people kind of are floundering around, sort of trying to figure out what they want to do
True.
with their lives. But I just knew this is what I wanted to do, so I just started doing it. You know, it's just like I couldn't wait to get out of high school so I could just hit the road and play music.
Play music.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I love your performance in the video Panic. That's kind of a taste for you being on stage.
Yeah.
Your whole like vibe and everything, and I would say like that's probably what you're like live, right? I mean, kind of.
Yeah, it's a lot of jumping around and very little clothing always.
I know. I was trying to get him to not wear his shirt on the show, but he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna save it for later." So you got a lot of tattoos.
I do have a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they can see it in the music video.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, I mean, maybe if we were having a few beers right here, then the shirt could come off.
So what was like the first tattoo? Because you're
come
seriously
on.
covered here.
No one ever wants to see a first tattoo. It's the ugliest thing in the
was-
world. This little clover was the first thing I ever got. And it's so faded and whatever. But yeah,
Nice.
I was like 18.
So you're like, okay, I'm allowed now, so I'm gonna go just.
No,
do it.
actually, no, honestly, I didn't have much desire before then. it was actually just kind of a whim when I first started getting tattoos. I just was like, you know what, let's go get tattooed, and we're like, all right, cool. So we went, and then at that point, I was just like, yeah, no, I want to do this.
Is there a theme behind all of your artwork here?
It's mostly Sailor Jerry style, old sailor tattoos and things like that. I'd say about 90% of it is. Yeah, that's always been my favorite style. In general, I've always stylistically I've always loved that kind of tattoo art. I mean, I love maritime music and just that whole kind of vibe. So that's just always been an influence of mine.
Cool. I like the skull. This over here.
No thanks.
So, what can people look for from you coming up in the future?
Well, we're gonna continue to be releasing new music as the Briggs. I mean, I'm working on my second full length for Joey Briggs.
Cool.
And still working with other artists and things like that. I don't necessarily have anything past the record I'm doing with Casket, but after that, I'm sure I'll be picking up other artists to be working with and continue to do that.
So mostly you're going to be kind of focusing on producing for other people.
Producing, writing, and but in continuing to do my own music as well. In the capacity that works for my life.
Cool.
Yeah.
What would you say the style of your self-titled album is?
It's a little bit. I mean, it's acoustic based, obviously, since I kind of put it in the category of singer-songwriter. But I mean, it's like kind of acoustic punk-ish. There's mandolin and upright bass and piano and stuff like that. So it kind of has folky kind of vibe to it, I suppose.
Wow. It's more chill for sure than the Briggs.
Way more chill, but I'd say musically, lyrically not. Lyrically, it's still pretty cutting and a little bit more, almost in some ways more cynical and pungent, if you will.
Cool. Well, I guess people should go and find out for themselves.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Check out your new album that's coming out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Joey, it's been so great having you on the show.
Yeah.
I could continue to ask you questions for like hours, but I'm just going to have to cut it short. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing the rest of your music. I hope everybody goes and checks you out on thebriggs.com.
Mm-hmm.
And any other places you want to shout out?
Not necessarily. That's probably the best place to go.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks again for coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching musician Joey Briggs on
The Red Booth.